In this lecture, I will be going to teach you module number 6.2, that is low power CMOS circuits. This module having 3 points. The first one is various components of power dissipation in CMOS circuits, limits on low power design, and the third one is low power design through voltage scaling. When you go for designing of any VLSI chips, you need to think about the three important factors, that is speed, area and power. But at a time or simultaneously it is not possible to get a chip which gives you very high speed, which takes very small area on silicon chip or silicon wafer you can say, and very low power dissipation. So there is always trade-offs. If you want very high speed, then there will be high power dissipation and vice versa. Out of these three factors, the speed and area somehow we have completed in module number 2, that is when you learn about the static logic, the number of transistors required will be twice of n, where n is what number of inputs. Then to reduce the number of transistors required for designing of any CMOS circuit, then learn about C-square CMOS or clock CMOS, then you learn about dynamic CMOS, then you learn about other various design styles. So while evolution of the different design styles, you have learned that as you move from static CMOS logic to dynamic CMOS logic, the number of transistors goes on what? Decreasing. If the number of transistors goes on decreasing, definitely the area required to fabricate that circuit will be less. And if the area is less, that increase the speed of operation of that IC. Now we'll complete or we'll look into the third factor, that is power. So there are various sources of or various components of time average power consumption in CMOS circuit. The first one is dynamic power consumption or called as switching power consumption. The second one is short circuit power consumption, and the third one is the leakage power consumption, also known as static power dissipation due to leakage currents or other current drawn continuously from the power supply. To begin with, we learn about the dynamic power consumption. This is a general structure of CMOS circuit. It consists of PMOS network and NMOS network. And at the output of this network, I have shown here a capacitor that is called as load capacitance, and it comprises of drain capacitance, interconnect capacitance, and the input capacitance of the next circuit to which you are going to apply the input. So to learn about the dynamic power dissipation, I will take a standard CMOS inverter circuit over here. Everybody knows that in CMOS inverter circuit, if you apply input voltage as a logic 0, definitely your PMOS transistor will get turned on. The moment at which this PMOS transistor get turned on, the capacitor will charge through that PMOS transistor and the output will rise to VDD level. So there is a charging event will happen when your PMOS transistor will get turned on. As the charging event happens, definitely a finite amount of current will flow from VDD to ground via PMOS and via C load you can say, right? And since the current is flowing from VDD to ground, definitely there will be a I square R loss takes place, and that is nothing but a power dissipation. So during charging event, definitely some finite amount of power dissipation takes place. Then we'll consider that if the applied Vin is changing from logic 0 to logic 1, the moment at which Vin become equal to logic 1, NMOS transistor will get turned on and the capacitor will get discharged through NMOS. So during discharging, definitely a finite amount of discharging current will flow through NMOS and that will dissipate certain amount of power. So during both events, charging and discharging event, current is flowing and that will dissipate power in this CMOS inverter circuit. So this power, what dissipation takes place because of this charging and discharging event, is called as dynamic power. So this is the expression by which you can calculate the average dynamic power dissipation. I have explained that during charging some power dissipation takes place, during discharging some power dissipation takes place. That's why here the expression what I written over here, that is P average equal to 1 upon T into bracket 0 to T by 2 V out into bracket minus C load into D out by dt into dt plus T by 2 to T into bracket VDD minus V out into C load D out by dt into dt. So these having two integrations, one is from 0 to T by 2 and other one is from T by 2 to T. 0 to T by 2 shows that this is a discharging event and that will indicated by here negative sign. When your NMOS transistor get turned on, your capacitor will get discharged and the current is what? Discharging current, or you can say that that current is coming out of the positive terminal of the capacitor, and that's why here negative sign is given for minus C load into D out by dt term. So that is corresponding to discharging of capacitor through NMOS transistor. And since this product is what V into I, it is the power dissipation takes place for the duration 0 to T by 2. Then in the second part, that is T by 2 to T, we'll observe that the voltage is VDD minus V out because the source of PMOS is tied to VDD and the drain is tied to what? V out. So the voltage across that PMOS transistor is VDD minus V out multiplied by the current that flows to that PMOS transistor, and that is nothing but the charging current. So V into I gives you again the power. So if you solve this, you'll get the expression for average dynamic power dissipation, and that is equal to 1 upon T C load into VDD square. Everybody know that 1 upon T is nothing but the frequency. So same expression you can express P average equal to the load capacitance multiplied by square of power supply into the applied frequency of the input signal. Observing this equation, you can say that the power dissipation is directly proportional to the load capacitance. It is directly proportional to the square of supply voltage. It is directly proportional to the frequency of the applied input signal. So if you think about the power dissipation, definitely will say that yes, if I want to decrease the power, the first thing is what? I will decrease the supply voltage because it is square of supply voltage. It is VDD square. So definitely the drastic power dissipation reduction in power dissipation takes place when you decrease the supply voltage. That is the first option by which, or this is the first way by which you can decrease the power dissipation. Second thing is the P average is directly proportional to the load capacitance. So if you reduce the load capacitance, definitely that will decrease the power dissipation in CMOS circuit. And the third option is if you decrease the clock frequency or the frequency of the applied input signal, the power dissipation also get decreases. So roughly speaking, these are the three ways by which you can decrease the power dissipation in CMOS circuit. But when you try to decrease the clock frequency or the frequency of the applied input signal, the power dissipation definitely will decrease, but that will hamper the overall performance of your system, or your system will become what? Sluggish, or you can see your IC will become what? Sluggish, or you can say it will get slowed down. Now moving towards the next type of power dissipation, that is called as short circuit power dissipation. So what are the power dissipation you have learned? That is purely due to the energy required to charge up the parasitic load capacitance in the circuit, and the switching power is independent of rise and fall time of the input signal. Now when you moving towards a short circuit power dissipation, you have to think about what kind of input signal you are applying. Of course, this is a digital circuit, will apply digital input, but what are the square wave you are going to apply that having finite rise and fall times? And because of this finite rise and fall times of the input signal, both the transistors of CMOS inverter circuit will conduct simultaneously for a short amount of time during switching, forming a direct current path between the power supply and the ground. So what are the current that flows between power supply and ground is called as short circuit current. The name short circuit is given because during this both your NMOS and PMOS switches are on and VDD is directly get connected to the ground. This is as good as the short circuit, and what are the current that flows because of this short circuit is known as short circuit current. The current component which passes through both the NMOS and PMOS device during switching does not contribute to the charging of a capacitance in the circuit, and hence it is called a short circuit current component. Again, you consider over here, this is the rise time what I shown on this edge, and this is the fall time or the finite fall time for this applied input signal. So when you apply or when the input rises from logic low to logic high, your NMOS transistor will start conducting. At the same time, your PMOS transistor remains in what? On state. So both the transistor will remain in on state and finite amount of current will flow from VDD to ground. The same thing happens when your input falls from logic high to logic low. So during this event, your PMOS will start conducting, but at the same moment, NMOS also remains in on state. And because of this, both the switches will get turned on and a finite amount of current will flow from VDD to ground. So this current also known as short circuit current. And because of this, whatever the power dissipation takes place is called as short circuit power dissipation. Now everybody learn about ideal voltage transfer characteristic of CMOS inverter. Here you can observe that in ideal voltage transfer characteristic, at a time only one transistor is in on state, and when your input falls from logic high to logic low, immediately the other transistor get turned on and earlier conduction transistor will go into what? Off state. So there is a sharp transition from logic high to logic low. Sharp in the sense you will say within zero time your output will fall from logic high to logic low. But this will happen only in case of ideal inverter. When you go for a practical inverter, you can observe such this kind of voltage transfer characteristic. So there are 5 regions: region A, region B, region C, region D, and region E. In region A, only one transistor is in on state, that is your NMOS transistor. In region E, the other transistor is in on state. But in region B, C, and D, both the transistors will remain in on state, because in region B, one transistor is in linear, other one in saturation. In region D, one transistor in saturation, other one in linear, and region C, both the transistor remains in saturation. So for region B, C, and D, both the transistors in on state, and because of that, finite amount of current will flow through your CMOS circuit. So that can be observed over here. Is both transistor in on state, and during this finite amount of current will flow through your CMOS circuit and some power dissipation takes place. So this power dissipation is termed as short circuit power dissipation. Again, in this slide you can observe that this is the sharp spike of short circuit current that flows through your CMOS circuit, and that current flows whenever there is a transition, and the transition is nothing but what? Your region B, region C, and region D, during which both the transistors in what? On state. So average short circuit power is given by 1 upon 12 K to F clock into VDD minus twice of threshold voltage raised to 3. Now moving towards the last component of power dissipation is leakage power dissipation. The NMOS and PMOS transistor used in CMOS logic gate generally have non-zero reverse leakage current and sub-threshold current. In a CMOS VLSI chip containing a very large number of transistors, this current can contribute to the overall power dissipation even when the transistors are not undergoing any switching event. Everybody know that the reverse leakage current is flowing because of the reverse biasing of PN junctions that get formed inside your PMOS and NMOS transistors. Similarly, there is a one more leakage current component that is called as subthreshold current. Here I will tell you the definition of subthreshold current. Actually, when the applied gate voltage to your MOSFET increase above the threshold of that MOSFET, then only the channel gate form and the finite amount of current will flow from drain to source in case of NMOS, and the finite of current will flow from source to drain in case of PMOS transistor. So your transistor will conduct finite amount of current only when the applied gate voltage is larger than the threshold voltage. But in practical MOSFET or in the physical MOSFET device, though the applied gate voltage less than threshold voltage, still the weak inversion, or you can say the weak channel gate form between drain and source region, and because of that some finite amount of current flow from drain to source. That current is termed as subthreshold current. Of course, this leakage current and the subthreshold current are unwanted currents, but you cannot make them zero because of the limitation imposed while fabricating the device. So this slide shows you the subthreshold leakage current that flows from source of PMOS to the drain of to the drain of to the drain of PMOS, and this is because of the subthreshold conduction current. Here the applied VDD is less than threshold voltage, and due to that applied voltage, some inversion layer takes place, or you can say the weak channel gate form, and finite amount of current will flow from source to drain, and that contributes to the power dissipation. Then the second component is leakage current. So here in this cross section of CMOS inverter, you will find so many junctions. This is N, this is P. So here one PN junction gate form. This is second PN junction gate form. Here P plus, this is N. So this is PN junction. Here again P plus, this is N well region. So this is one junction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth one is between this N well and the P substrate. So you will find here 5 different PN junction gate form over here, and these 5 different PN junctions definitely in reverse bias. And if the PN junction is reverse bias, definitely a finite amount of current will pass through that reverse bias PN junction, and that will dissipate some finite amount of power. That is termed as leakage power dissipation in case of CMOS circuits. So reverse leakage current is given by A into Js into bracket e raised to q V bias upon Kt minus 1. This is the reverse saturation current that flows through the PN junction diode, or you can see your PN junction. Multiply whatever the resistance that we come across, gives you I square R loss, and that is nothing but the power dissipation takes place because of the leakage current in your CMOS inverter circuit. So now the next part is low power design through voltage scaling. As I told that your average power dissipation, that is your dynamic power dissipation, is directly proportional to the supply voltage square. So if you reduce the supply voltage, definitely the power dissipation takes place. But if you go for this voltage scaling, it will affect your power and delay. The reduction of power supply voltage significantly reduces the dynamic power dissipation. The inevitable design trade-off is the increase in delay. I told that there is a trade-off. Means if you try to decrease the power dissipation, then there is a increase in what? Delay. Here you can observe that tau PHL, that is the propagation delay for high to low transition, and TPLA, that is the propagation delay from low to high transition. So there are two delays, high to low transition and low to high transition. So that delays are inversely proportional to the VDD. So if you reduce the value of VDD, definitely these propagation delays will get decreased. sorry, if you decrease the value of VDD, the propagation delays will get increased because this is inversely proportional. In this slide, you can observe how the delay changes with respect to supply voltage and changes in power dissipation with respect to variation in the power supply voltage. If the power supply voltage is scaled down, or you can say it is decreased, while all other parameters are kept constant, the propagation delay time would increase. So if you try to go for a low delay IC, but at the same time it will give the high power dissipation. So it is not possible to get low power dissipation and low delay simultaneously. The propagation delay expressions show that the negative effect of reducing the power supply voltage upon delay can be compensated for if the threshold voltage of the transistor is scaled down accordingly. However, this approach is limited because the threshold voltage may not be scaled to the same extent at which the power supply is scaled. If you go for very small value of threshold voltage, then your transistor may get turned on because of some noise voltage and you won't get the expected output from your circuit. This slide shows you the variation of normalized propagation delay of CMOS inverter as a function of the power supply voltage VDD and the threshold voltage VT. Now, what are the conclusions you can derive from this? The first one is reducing the threshold voltage from 0.8 to 0.2 volt can improve the delay at VDD equal to 2 volt by a factor of 2. The positive influence of threshold voltage reduction upon propagation delay is especially pronounced at low power supply voltage, that is for VDD less than 2 volt. It should be noted, however, that low threshold voltage transistor raises significant concern about the noise margins and sub-threshold conduction. If your threshold voltage is very small, then there is a high chances of sub-threshold conduction. Smaller threshold voltage lead to smaller noise margins for the CMOS logic gates. The sub-threshold conduction current also set severe limitation against reducing the threshold voltage. For threshold voltage smaller than 0.2 volt, leakage due to sub-threshold conduction in standby, that is when the gate is not switching, may become very significant component of the overall power consumption. Now, the last part of this module 6.2, there are two methods by which you can decrease the power dissipation by voltage scaling. So, two circuit design techniques which can be used to overcome the difficulties such as the leakage and high standby power dissipation associated with the low threshold voltage circuits. The first one is variable threshold CMOS, also called as VT CMOS circuits, and the second one is multiple threshold CMOS, also known as MT CMOS circuit. In the exam, there will be a short note on this VT CMOS and MT CMOS. In case of variable threshold CMOS circuit, designing the CMOS logic gate entirely with low threshold voltage transistor will inevitably lead to increased sub-threshold leakage and consequently to higher standby power dissipation when the output is not switching. One possible way to overcome this problem is to adjust the threshold voltage of the transistor in order to avoid leakage in the standby mode by changing the substrate bias. The threshold voltage VT of MOS transistor is a function of source to substrate voltage called as VSB. In conventional CMOS logic circuit, the substrate terminals of all NMOS transistors are connected to ground potential, while the substrate terminal of all PMOS transistors are connected to VDD. Means, if you connect the source of NMOS transistor to ground and substrate also at ground potential, then the voltage that will develop between source and substrate will be equal to 0. And when this happens, there is no substrate bias effect and there is no change in the threshold voltage of NMOS transistor. Similarly, when you go for the PMOS transistor, the source of PMOS transistor is connected to VDD. At the same time, the substrate of PMOS also connected to VDD. So, Your source is at VDD, your substrate at VDD. So the substrate to or source to substrate voltage is 0 and there is no substrate bias effect and the threshold voltage of PMOS does not change. Now consider this circuit or variable threshold CMOS inverter circuit. The threshold voltage of NMOS and PMOS transistor are increased by adjusting the substrate bias voltage in order to reduce subthreshold leakage current in the standby mode. Standby mode in the sense when the transistors are in off state. So in this circuit you can observe that when this PMOS transistor is in active mode, that time the threshold voltage of this transistor will be minus 0.2. But when that goes into standby mode, the threshold voltage of this PMOS transistor will change from 0.2 to 0.6. Again, when this PMOS transistor is in active mode, that time the substrate will be at 2 volt, that is nothing but that is get tied to the VDD supply voltage, and when that goes into standby mode, the substrate of PMOS transistor get connected to the 4 volt. Actually, there are various ways by which you can change the threshold voltage of the MOSFET. Out of that, one is by changing the substrate bias voltage. If you increase the substrate bias voltage, definitely that will increase the threshold voltage of the transistor. And if the threshold voltage of the transistor get increased, the sub-threshold leakage current will get decreased. Similarly, when you go for NMOS transistor, when it is in active mode, the threshold voltage is plus 0.2 volt, and when that goes into standby mode, the threshold voltage of NMOS transistor is 0.6. Again, when you go for source and substrate voltage, when the transistor is in active mode, the substrate is at 0 volt, but when that goes into standby mode, the substrate voltage of NMOS transistor will change to minus 2 volt. So to change this substrate voltage, there is a bias control circuit that will change the substrate voltage of NMOS and PMOS to 4 volt and minus 2 volt when they goes into standby mode. When the inverter circuit is operating in the active mode, the substrate bias voltage of the NMOS transistor, that is VBN, equal to 0, and the substrate bias voltage of the PMOS transistor, that is VBP, equal to VDD. Thus, the inverter transistor do not experience any back bias effect, also known as substrate bias effect, because the substrate and the source of both the NMOS and PMOS transistors at the same potential, and there is no any source to substrate voltage, or you can say there is no any source to bulk voltage, and there is no any backgate or back bias effect or backgate effect or substrate bias effect. The circuit operates with low VDD and low threshold voltage, benefiting from both low power dissipation due to low VDD and high switching speed due to low threshold voltage. When the inverter circuit is in the standby mode, however, the substrate bias control circuit generates a lower substrate bias voltage for the NMOS transistor and a higher substrate bias voltage for the PMOS transistor. As a result, the magnitudes of the threshold voltage VTN and VTP both increase in the standby mode due to the back bias effect, or you can say the substrate bias effect, also called as the backgate effect. Since the subthreshold leakage current drops exponentially with increasing threshold voltage, the leakage power dissipation in the standby mode can be significantly reduced with this technique. Now moving towards the next method by which you can decrease the power dissipation by scaling the voltage, that is called as multiple threshold CMOS, also called as MT CMOS circuits. This is another technique which can be applied for reducing leakage currents in low voltage circuit in the standby mode is based on using two different types of transistors. Of course, your CMOS circuit consists of NMOS and PMOS transistor with two different threshold voltage in the circuit. So some PMOS and NMOS transistors are fabricated with low threshold voltage, and some NMOS and PMOS transistors are fabricated with high threshold voltage. The low threshold voltage transistors are typically used to design the logic gate where switching speed is required, And high threshold voltage transistors are used to effectively isolate the logic gate in standby and to prevent the leakage power dissipation. So this is a generic structure of multiple threshold CMOS. Here you can observe that these are the two transistors, one PMOS, other one is what NMOS transistor. So whenever that goes into standby mode, they dissipates very low power because of the high threshold voltage. This box shows a CMOS logic with low VT. Let us say if you want to implement a two-input NAND gate, then you have to put here a static circuit that is required to implement your two-input NAND gate into this box. So because of this high threshold voltage PMOS and NMOS transistor, they will not draw any sub-threshold current into this CMOS logic circuit. They will not complete the path from VDD to ground, and hence there is no flow of current through this circuit, and that leads to low power dissipation. Thank you.